Hello and welcome to the GameDev Outpost. In this video, we're going to talk about creating thumbnails for various assets in Unreal Engine 5. So the first thing to talk about are that 2D assets and 3D assets, you can't actually change the icons for them. In the case of 2D assets, it's because they already have a 2D representation. In the case of 3D assets, they have a 3D representation. Now what's nice is that with 3D assets, you can actually change their positioning, almost like these are all little viewports. The way that we do that is by going to Settings, and we go all the way down to the bottom, and we have this thumbnail edit mode. If we turn that on, we'll notice a few things. Some of these have icons. So in the case of materials, if we click on the sphere, we can change the primitive. I do like the sphere, and in the case of these other ones, even though they have this icon, you can't really change it. But in each one of these are basically like little viewports. And we can rotate these objects around so we can orient them so we can better understand what that 3D model is. And then once we're done and happy with all of our models and their positioning, we can just click Done Editing. Now in the case of anything that isn't 2D, like a texture, or 3D, we can change the icons that they have. So in my case, I have a level, and if I right click on this and I go all the way up to Asset Actions and click on Capture Thumbnail, I've just changed the image. Now what's going on is when I click on Capture Thumbnail, it's actually taking a snapshot of the viewport that I'm in. So anything that you do in the viewport could be reflected in here. So say that I change this to Unlit mode, and I right click, and I go up to Asset Actions, Capture Thumbnail, it'll change. Very convenient. Now I can go to some of these various assets, right click, Asset Actions, Capture Thumbnail. I would recommend going through different data types and finding out which ones fully work. There's quite a few in here that I found that worked. But let's talk about one that people get confused with. So in the case of blueprints, if you right click on it and go to Asset Actions, you may notice that there's Capture Thumbnail. Sometimes Capture Thumbnail won't be there. Now the reason for this is most likely that you have a static mesh in your hierarchy. So if we go and open up our blueprint and we add a static mesh to it, and in that static mesh, we add a static mesh, we do compile and save, you'll notice we have a 3D viewport, and this should tell us right away that this isn't going to be able to capture a thumbnail. So if we right click and go to Asset Actions, you'll notice we can't capture the thumbnail. So the trick for this is to either capture a thumbnail before you add your static mesh, or temporarily come into your blueprint and remove the static mesh. So if I delete that, compile, save, now we can go back, right click, Asset Action, Capture Thumbnail. Now the last one to cover is setting up a thumbnail for our project. If we go up to Edit, Project Settings, right away in the description we'll see About, Project Thumbnail, and in here we can choose what icon we want. Now this is important to note though, it needs to be a certain aspect ratio. It needs to be 192 by 192. And now once you have that all done, and you save everything, if you close out of your project and open up the Epic Games launcher, you'll notice that your project now has an icon. Alright guys, if this was useful and it helped, please let me know by commenting down below and liking the video. Thanks guys.